Welcome to the Real Life Podcasts with your hosts, leadership and personal growth author and speaker John C. Donahue and licensed psychotherapist Lou Carfisi. The Real Life Podcast is your weekly dose of motivation, encouragement, and direction to help you live your life at the highest level.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the Real Life Podcast. My name is John, and I come to you from johncdonahue.com. Joining me, as always, is my co-host, best friend, and my partner in the Real Life Podcast, Mr. Lou Carfisi from lifecarecounseling.net. How you doing today, pal?
Oh, just fine.
Just ducky, as you would say.
That's right.
We are so glad that you are taking time out of your busy schedule to listen or watch the Real Life Podcast, where we hope to provide some real help and real hope. And we want to go ahead and jump right in. Today, we're talking about the emotion of frustration. And I can't speak for everybody, but I know that today I'm looking forward to going through this because I've had a very frustrating day. Frustration is an emotion I think that we can all relate to, right?
Oh, yeah. I have it all the time.
Yes, I'm in the middle of trying to buy a house. So that's where I'm at right now. So my frustration level is to the roof. And then some, which has a leak in it, by the way.
Yes, which has a leak in it. Yeah.
So we're going to talk about frustration. And as we get started, I think the most important thing we need to do is kind of break it down and talk about, what really is frustration. So Lou, let's start breaking it into what is frustration?
It's a feeling. It really isn't. I mean, nothing happens to you. It's just a feeling that you have.
Right.
And it makes you feel, when you're in it, when you're frustrated, that there is no option for getting out. You're in there, and that's it. And that's what creates a frustration.
Right.
You feel that you can't get out. Right.
You're stuck. You're a hostage almost. That's what it feels like to me, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about it, when you're in it, it ties your brain up so much. You feel like you can't escape that gnawing. It feels like you're trapped in a box that you can't get out of. And that's that feeling that comes with this frustration thing that we're talking about.
Right. You're a hostage. There you are. There's no relief. That's it. You can't do anything about it until either the episode is over or you move somewhere else or something else happens.
Right. There's no way around it. And the thing about frustration is it is an equal opportunity offender. It knows no boundaries. It doesn't apply more to men, more to women. It doesn't matter what color, creed, nationality you're from. Frustration is an equal opportunity offender, correct?
Oh, yeah. And the longer you stay in it, the longer and the harder and the stronger it gets. And this happens with children in particular, because children, especially when they're wrongly accused of something, who do they complain to? It's their parents. The parents are telling them, look, I know you did that. And the kid says, no, I didn't do that. And then it goes back and forth, and then he gets punished, he or she, because girls do bad things too. Or they accuse them anyway.
Right.
And then they get frustrated.
Right.
And that frustration is dangerous because the frustration leads to anger. Anger leads to depression. So it's a very, very bad thing to be frustrated. Yeah. As we all know.
Yeah. I always kind of hear Yoda in the background, and hate leads to whatever.
The dark side.
To the dark side. I feel that progression, and it's very true. A lot of people are dealing with depression, and we've talked about it a little bit. It's something that you deal with a lot. When you have that kind of frustration from early childhood and you bring it all the way up to adulthood, I mean, that's when you start dealing with some serious mental issues and emotional issues, right?
Sure, especially when it happens to kids and it never gets reconciled, never gets resolved.
Right.
They think that they've done something wrong, and they receive two different messages. You're a wonderful child, but yet you've done this wrong thing, and they know they hadn't done it.
Right.
So their frustration level grows.
Right.
If we can mitigate that, we could probably eliminate a lot of the problems that people have in their adult lives.
Wow, that's amazing. And frustration is just one piece of that. There's all sorts of other things that go with that, I'm sure. But it's not just kids that deal with that. We deal with it on a day-to-day basis in a lot of different situations, like at work.
Oh yeah.
You know, you might get accused of something, or somebody puts the blame on you. You know, they say a certain material slides downhill, and that's when it usually kind of lands on you. And, you know, that's not great when you get belittled at work, or you get the blame for something that's not your responsibility. I mean, that's super frustration. I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah, it's like, you finished this long project, you had a great idea, you did it, and then your boss goes to his boss and says, "Hey, look what I did." That's frustration. That's what they do, really, because that's just what they do.
Right. Boss has to do something.
That's right.
We kid. We know there's a lot of bosses out there that work really hard.
Right.
There's a lot that don't, but we'll get into that that's a whole nother conversation for another day.
Yes, it is.
The frustration comes not only in big ways, like with kids and with, work situations and with family situations, but we deal with little frustrations, and little frustrations like getting cut off in traffic. I used to live in Atlanta. You currently live near Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
I live in Florida now, and I think that the drivers down here are way worse. But that's
because most of them are from New York.
That's right. That's right. New York and New Jersey. But I think that is one of the most frustrating things that you can do, is driving to and home from work. Mornings, everybody's asleep. Everybody's a little groggy, and people can have a little bit of road rage going into the office. Oh, I've seen it. I've been a part of it. But then coming home, there is no good way to de-stress from your frustrating, stressful day than coming home and dealing with road rage. It's just, we live in that, for the entire time we're at work and the entire time we drive home.
Yeah. Yep. That happens. Road rage, big deal. We even did I think we did a podcast on that a while ago.
We did.
Yeah.
And you should definitely go find it. It's on the reallifepodcast.com website. It's great. It was eye-opening when we were researching it and talking about it. It's amazing what road rage is, what it does.
Yeah. Another way it happens is you go to a restaurant, you sit down, you get all excited, you're here at this really good restaurant, and they get the order wrong. They ask for a steak, and you ask for it to be like medium or medium well, and it comes out, mooing. So something. Something's wrong. And so what do? You give it back to him. He brings it back to the cook. The cook spits on it and brings it back to you. So this is a source of frustration. You don't want to hand it back because you know that it's going to anger the cook or the chef or whoever it is.
Right. The fry cook usually in my world. So we're dealing with that type of frustration, but we also deal with relationship frustrations. What about somebody that's been cheated on, or not cheated on, I shouldn't say that, but maybe somebody that maybe is lying to you, somebody that is bold-faced lying to you consistently, and that just starts all sorts of frustration.
Well, that is a huge source of frustration, because then we not only get frustrated, we go from frustrated to anger in like a millisecond. Because if you know that someone's lying to you and they continue to do it and they keep getting away with it, then what is our options? We're in that trapped situation. We're in that circumstance where we can't get out. We're done.
So we've gone through a lot of different, big issues, smaller issues. There's a lot of frustration triggers out there. I don't want to say that word trigger. It's gotten such a bad rap lately, but there's a lot of things that frustrate us in big ways and in small ways. Lou, doing what you do, you're uniquely trained, and your experience can answer this question because it's important. What is the impact on people physically? I mean, I know you can't talk physically specifically, but what is the impact emotionally and physically, to a degree that you can, of this much frustration in your life over time?
Well, it impacts your behavior. You get the not only the frustration and anger that we talked about earlier, but if there's no outlet for it, it becomes depression. You start acting like a person who is frustrated all the time because you tend to expect it. If you do something for a certain amount of time, even thinking a certain way for a certain amount of time, it becomes a habit. And anything that's a habit is very difficult to get rid of. it impacts your behavior, and it impacts your sense of peace, your well-being.
Right. And frustration over time is leading to stress. I mean, that isn't that one of the largest causes of stress is this frustration, these little frustrating things. And they don't have to be big things, but they can pile up over time. And we all know, I mean, we've talked about it in other shows. We've both read tons of blog articles and magazines and books about the effects of stress on the human body. I mean, that's something that could really actually kill someone, is an incredible amount of stress in their life.
Oh yeah, blood pressure. People get heart attacks because they get so angry and they get so worked up that it gets their blood pressure up. You can have a stroke. There's all kinds of bad stuff, and we're not MDs, so I can't speak specifically to what it does, but I can see it in the people that I treat, because I know that they're frustrated. They're frustrated in their relationship or their job or whatever it is that's bothering them.
Right. And you know what's amazing, and I know that you've seen this. I know that you've seen it with me because we've gone through it when we were talking. But I've talked to people, and they tell me their problems. I'm not a counselor, but when you're coaching somebody or trying to just help them to feel better, you sit and you listen to what their problems are, and because you have a different perspective, I can provide, or you can provide some type of an idea of how to attack it and to solve the problem. And I've done this on so many occasions, and the person is so stressed out. Once I throw the idea out there and they think about it and they accept that it's a really good idea, you can actually see the muscles in their shoulders. You can see all their neck muscles just relax. You can see their face relax. And it's almost like they collapse into the chair, because it's like they've been carrying this weight for so long, this unrequited frustration, the stress that they're carrying. If they just have one way to fix it, they have that escape route.
Right.
What's
another?
Go ahead.
I said a lot of people in my practice, when they're like that, I'll have them relax first. I'll let them go through deep breathing and just think about other things, nice things, vacation, the warm air blowing across the ocean, the margarita, the whole bit, to get them into that mode, and then they feel better. And if they feel better, they're better able to handle their problems. Right.
We had a guy one time, we were this is how smart this guy was. We're going on a cruise. There were 4 of us together. We were so tense and tight, and he could tell it. He said, "Guys, I can't let you get on the ship until you do this one exercise." And we were like, "Okay." He was like, "Okay, trust me, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and repeat after me, tequila." and we took that deep breath, we let out, said tequila, and we all kind of chuckled and relaxed. And that's actually how we started the vacation. So your breathing exercises and thinking about something enjoyable and pleasurable, that's a great way to relieve that stress, that frustration. One of the things I wanted to ask about, you made a note in our show notes. One of the impacts of frustration and stress is cognitive dissonance. What is that, and how does that apply?
Well, cognitive dissonance is simply receiving 2 messages from the same source that are diametrically opposed. Okay, this is one of the things that frustrates people probably the most, because especially in a kid, because the kid hears 2 different messages. Kid comes home from school. What does he have? He has something to eat, right? Hour later, mom's calling him downstairs to dinner because it's dinner time. Mom, not hungry. Well, he just ate. But she says, "No, I don't care. You come down here and you eat right now." So what are you telling the kid? You're telling the kid that you eat when you're not hungry, but come over here because you're hungry and I'll let you eat, and then you can't eat later. It's 2 different messages, 2 different things coming to the same person from someone who you respect more than anyone else, who you want to please more than anyone else. It's difficult.
This is also that do as I say and not as I do thing. Right?
Yeah.
When I was younger, I would see my mom or dad do something and I'd ask them about it. And they're like, "Well, I can do that because I'm an adult. You can't do that because you're a kid. And I never thought that was fair.
No, it's not fair.
I mean, I understand that there's certain things. I mean, I can't drive a car if I'm 6. I get that. But there are a lot of those dissident things that you pick up as a kid, and we don't even think about it as adults when we talk to our kids or other children or other people's children.
Or even people.
Right, exactly. You know.
What a boss tells you, you're doing a great job, and then, you go for your review and you get a pay cut.
Right.
These are the things that don't make logical sense, because we think certain things are going to happen when somebody tells us something.
Right.
And when they don't happen, we get frustrated.
Right. Absolutely.
There you go.
And we have a lot of different situations like that. I've lived through a few. You've lived through probably several. It's just it's that frustration time and time again, and it just wears at you. It beats you down almost.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do we do? How do we end it? How do we stop this endless cycle of frustration?
Well, there's nothing we can do about our environment, because people are going to do what they do. But one thing that we tend to do is we tend to take responsibility for other people's behavior and their actions. And we need to take the responsibility for the situation that is giving us the frustration. Right or wrong, we put it on the person who's causing it. And if that's the circumstance, if something's happening to us, they cause the frustration, they're the ones who need to be responsible for it. We can just let that go. We can release it. It's got nothing to do with us. And although it may affect us, some things, there's nothing you can do about it. Things are going to inevitably bother you. But as long as you put the responsibility on the person who did it, then at least we're not, we don't have to take it any further than that.
And that's tough. Is there a way that we can do that? Is that something that you could just say to yourself over and over again? This is not my fault. This is so-and-so's to blame. Do you say that over and over again? How do you take the blame and put it in the correct spot?
Well, you really already know who's to blame for it. It's the responsibility for the behavior that you want to put on the person who's doing it. You don't, and it's not a mantra. You don't say it over and over and over. That'll cause more frustration.
True. True.
Serenity now. What you want to do is this person is acting bad, is acting poorly. Their behavior is bad, and that behavior would cause me frustration, but it's not my responsibility.
Right.
I didn't do it. It's wrong. It's incorrect. It's not right. Yeah. So you can sit there and fight that battle if you want to, or you can put the responsibility on the person who's doing it and say, that's it, I'm done.
Right. And the thing is, when something like that happens, we need to make sure that, once we kind of realize, okay, this happened, this is the person or circumstance that's the cause of this. Mm-hmm. You kind of said it earlier. We have to let it go.
Yeah.
To borrow a Disney song, we have to let it go, because if you don't and you hang on to that kind of thing, it's going to cause you only hurt, because it's going to make you feel bad. It's going to make the situation worse. It could cause all sorts of ripple effects to, if it's a person, the relationship that you're dealing with. And if you seek vengeance, if you seek to get some retribution on your situation, all that's going to do is it's going to cause you to suffer more.
That's exactly right. I couldn't have said it better myself, John.
Well, you did kind of say it yourself. So
we said it together.
We say it together. It all works.
It's some things are just not worth holding on to.
Yeah.
It's like carrying a bunch of baggage that you don't need. You let it go.
Right. And we get in situations, and I've dealt with situations where, in the long run, it's really not that big of a deal. And one of the things that I learned, one of my coping mechanisms when things like this would happen, was you try to just kind of picture things in light of your entire life. And just in light of your entire life, this situation probably isn't that big a deal. I mean, it might feel like it at the time, but in light of all of the years that you will live and all the years that you have lived, is it really that big a deal if some guy cuts you off in traffic? Is it really that big a deal if the guy didn't get your order absolutely right. Yes, it is frustrating, but dude, just let it go. In the grand scheme of things, it's not that big a deal.
It's not. So, and in light of that and getting that mindset, we have to be ready for these things to happen, because sure as shooting, it's going to happen. People are going to frustrate you. They're going to do all the things that we talked about, plus a zillion other things that could possibly get you aggravated, frustrated, feel disrespected. I mean, you name it. This is the world we live in. We're humans and we're flawed, and we all do things that frustrate others, right. And that's just the way it is. If you expect it, then you won't be disappointed when it happens.
Yes, but in the same token, I would encourage you not to look for it, because if you're looking for it, that's a whole nother ball of wax, and you probably need to talk to somebody like Lou. But if you're prepared, knowing that people have the potential to let you down or frustrate you or do things that cause you stress, you're better prepared, so you can kind of look at it and let it go much faster. It's the surprise frustrations, I think, that stick with me. So it's those little things that just kind of needle at you after a while.
Like buying a house. Right?
Wow, I was already past that. Now we're back to it.
You let it go, and I gave it back to you.
That's right. I handed you the ball. You handed it right back to me.
Here you go.
So what about in the case of a child? Because that's a serious thing. Shame on the parents, the teacher, or whoever else is causing the child frustration. What you were doing is building a problem for that kid. Now, I'm not saying that you don't discipline a kid, but when you don't show them respect, they know it. We treat our family, this is generally true for adults as well, but we treat people in our family much worse than we treat strangers on the street. Right. Because we're polite to them. If they ask us a question, we'll answer them. Right. Like if they say, why can I do that? Dad, why can't I do this? Or Mom, why can't I do this? Because I said so. Is not a good answer, because you're telling them they're not important enough to know the answer. They're lower than you, and you want to elevate them. Okay. And you cause the children so much frustration. You're about to make a personality disorder. It's time and attention and respect and communication. Those are the things that I've learned listening to you, especially in the last several months of the podcast, because, kids can kind of wear on you, asking you 10,000 questions, but at the same time, they're just little young, almost like computers, and they're learning. And the thing you have to remember is they're coming to you to learn from. And that's a huge responsibility. And you should consider that an honor and a joy. Figure out a way maybe to curb some of the questions in a healthy way. But, those kids are the most important thing that you'll have, because it's your responsibility to raise them, and you need to raise them right. We've talked about frustration. We've given you some ways to deal with it. If you are still struggling and you would like to talk to Lou or myself, you can reach out to us at questions@reallifepodcast.com. You can also leave us a comment on the video, or you can leave us a comment on our social media platforms, which are
Facebook.com/reallifepodcast, and Twitter.com/reallifecast.
Real Life Cast. That's right. And we want to encourage you to sign up for our newsletter. Each week, Lou and I send out a newsletter with some great articles and some information that we don't, it's not stuff that we pull off the website. It's stuff that's new. So want to make sure that you sign up for that. And just try to dial down the frustration as much as you can.
That's right. We're only here for a short time, ladies and gentlemen.
That's right.
We might as well enjoy the ride.
That's right. So with that, Lou, thank you for your time and expertise.
Of course. Thank you, John, for all you do.
Sure. And we want to thank you for taking time to listen and watch. And we want to encourage you to come to the Real Life Podcast, where we try to give you real help and real hope. And we hope that you guys have a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Real Life Podcast. Find out more information and sign up for the Real Life Podcast newsletter at reallifepodcast.com. You can also learn more about our hosts, Lou Carfisi at lifecarecounseling.net and John Donahue at johncdonahue.com. And remember, live your life to the fullest. And as always, we want to encourage you to choose to be awesome, because when you choose to be awesome, you will be. Have a great week, everyone.